Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is a snapshot of my snap report weeks 5 to 1. I go through this. I won't be able to go through all of it. Check out scienceandfantasyfootball.com for all the tables, charts, etc. that you can go through yourself. Again, my philosophy is teach you how to fish, not to give you the fish. So that's looking for folks who wish to learn, not just give me the answers. Okay. So chasing volume is the beginning. It's not the end. And this is one thing that I really pay attention to is snaps. Uh, been fairly successful. Nothing's 100%, but certainly points you to potential new players on the scene, decline of players, etc. And it's always good to keep a pulse on those kind of changes. That's the whole point of the waiver wire trades, lineups, that kind of thing. So I do believe that looking from the team level down to the players, what we call top down, and then player kind of up is bottom up. And I think you really need both approaches to get a complete sense of the potential of this information and what it can do for you. Something that I have found along the way is looking at something I call efficiency of yards per game versus points per second. And this is real points, it's not PPR points. And so I try to include this before we even get into snaps. In my matchup data, we're looking at Vegas, we're looking at over under, we're looking at our defense against position. So we're trying to highlight so called uh, key spots, hot spots, whatever, heat levels of advantages or disadvantages. And I think team efficiency, team power rankings, all that come together, I think, and allow for a big view of what's going on. So I have team level for points per second and yards per game. So I give you what the efficiency data was saying, the top and bottom teams, and then this week with 5 weeks of data, here are the top and bottom, and some teams have moved in and out of these categories, so that is always something to consider. So Seattle, Chicago, and Tennessee moved into the top levels, which is interesting. Chicago, which played last night, and actually, I could see they had flashes of things, fields, but then it flopped. And I don't know quite, it's like they were searching to put it all together. I pretty much didn't play. I played the defenses, did play, in places where I had to play, but I pulled a lot of players out of my lineups from Chicago and Washington. I'm not convinced. Vegas had it at 38. It was just a sad game script. But I do note Chicago seemed to have moved in, and of course they'll probably move back out after this game. Seattle and Tennessee, and the Rams, Pittsburgh, Arizona, and Cincinnati moved kind of down into the bottom ranks. So those are some pretty prominent teams. Cincinnati continues to worry me. Uh, Not quite sure what needs to go on there. Arizona's another one. The Rams, just I get to sense these teams have so much potential, and are just, it's not being unlocked here. And I think this metric is capturing some of that issue. I don't think Pittsburgh is a is a big surprise to anybody, but the other ones probably could be a surprise. You wonder if with the Rams, Stafford, is his arm and injury really worse than it's letting on. I don't know. It's kind of a warning. It doesn't mean you shouldn't play players. I mean, Jamar Chase, Higgins, etc., Cooper Cup. You know, it just is telling you, things are not like they need to be. So that's part of it. And you have to use your common sense, and your diary can, kind of track how good you've been on these kind of decisions. And if you don't know about that, I had a thing on how to do a diary and whatnot. Definitely, you know, check that lesson out as well. So theoretically, better teams, you want the, players from better teams, and, you get concerned about players from the bottom teams. That's just kind of an overview. It doesn't mean I get rid of Chase or Higgins or something. It just means, there's something's not right. That's what tells me. Here's the actual data. You can points per second, yards per game, and green is high and red is low. So a lot of these so-called high efficiency teams really don't do too much with yards per game, but they score a lot. So they're not, for PPR purposes, you want to see Seattle doing lots of yards and lots of scoring, right? Kansas City does that. Detroit's been doing that, except for the last game. Buffalo's been doing that. The Chargers have been doing that. So those are good. Whereas things like Houston, uh, sucky and sucky, Pittsburgh, the Rams. So those teams concern me. So it's the higher efficiency versus the lower efficiency, and remember it's a ratio. So Carolina doesn't score the highest points, but their efficiency of what they're scoring is way better than what the yards are. So they're overdoing what they have. And I think Atlanta, Chicago, and Tennessee, they don't do a lot of yards, but they're really scoring points more. And that's giving them that efficiency metric. So it's kind of telling you they're doing a lot with a little, I guess you could think about. Whereas the Rams are not doing a lot with a little. So, it is an interesting metric here. And I do like to keep track of that every week. So if you follow this, we can, you and I together can follow that. And it just points to some things to be concerned about. And, some metrics are meant for a broader understanding. Some are very, usually player metrics are for the player, right? This is more team level and kind of what they're doing. And so it gives you a broader brush view of the situation. Okay, next thing is positional usage measured by snaps. I look at the snap averages and calculate a percent of the total snap average, and that gives me the usage here. Uh, anyway, and so that allows us to visualize team usage patterns that give deeper insight, into week 6. So I have tables and I have the graphs, and let's just go over that. You can read if you want, but here's the table for 4 teams. So each table's 4 teams: Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo. We have the positions: RBs, tight ends, and wide receivers. Here's the average scoring level over the last 5 weeks. So what's in blue is high and red is low. So that kind of pinpoints some issues. And let's see, percent usage kind of highlights that for Arizona. It's all about the wide receivers, yet the running backs are the scoring more. So running backs in Arizona are outperforming their usage, whereas the wide receivers are underperforming. So again, kind of that global metric concept. Atlanta, lots of tight end with Pitts used, but he's not scoring. The opposite, Baltimore, lots of scoring, lots of usage. Man, that is spot on. Buffalo, lots of wide receivers, scoring and usage. Tight ends, on the other hand, sucky scoring, but lots of usage. So you can kind of get a feel for kind of the weaker aspects of a team and a stronger one. So, lineups and trades and these kind of things. This is painting the picture for you. It's certainly framing the concepts. Here are the week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 averages for the position, not per player, but the whole running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. And here are the average of the 5 weeks here in color coded. And to me, that's intriguing, but I like the visual. And here's the visual. And Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, you can see Arizona's, the red is scoring, and there it is, running back scoring. But if you look at the triangle, about the real low usage. So they're overdoing it. And look at the gap of the scoring of the wide receivers. It's here, but look at the usage. It's there. That gap is not good. Okay. The higher the gap, the suckier it is. Look at Buffalo. Look at the tight end. Big gap. That sucks. Look at this nice short gap here with Andrews. Nice. Look at the wide receiver, running backs in Baltimore. Suck. So I think to me, I like to look at the visual and it just in a snap, right? Snap of the snaps, right? We can get a sense for what's going on. So, for instance, in Atlanta, the wide receivers are not being as used as much as tight ends, and they're not scoring. That gap is not crazy like Arizona, but it's not like Baltimore either. Baltimore is not using their wide receivers, but their scoring is good as Atlanta, that's using their wide receivers a lot more. So they're overusing the wide receivers at Atlanta. So the depth on your team probably shouldn't be that good. Whereas in Buffalo, you want maybe even the fourth Buffalo wide receiver. Look at that. That is just telling you, that is ringing the dinner bell, just like the running backs in Arizona. You definitely want some depth there on your team, and even Atlanta is telling you that as well. So, anyway, and I don't know Mark Andrews is handcuffed, but it looks to me like that. If I owned Andrews, I'd want the handcuff awful bad because there's that that relationship that I'm seeing. It would be hard for the team to go away from that. What's been working for them. So if Andrew had an issue a week or so, then uh, their replacement could enjoy extra points. So something to research and figure out. So I hope you're getting the sense of what this metric should be doing. When I'm talking and trying to point out these things, it's highlighting aspects that jump out to me. It doesn't mean I'm catching all the subtleties, right? Between this data and that data. That's up to you as well. I mean, it's your team. And I'm just showing you kind of how I do things, not to, wipe your butt and say, oh, do it this way. I want to I, don't want to give it to you. I want to teach you how to use it, right? So I want you. get deep on thinking. At least I think that's what I want you to do. So anyway, so I'll just breeze through the other ones here. What's it? 15 minutes of me running my mouth, so that's probably too much. Carolina, not good on wide receivers. Poor Robbie Anderson. And here's something I don't like. Look at CMC, lowest scoring and lowest. Are you kidding me? Carolina, I don't know what you're doing. I've complained about this probably from about week 2 on. Chicago, they have been using their running backs. Khalil Herbert looked really good last night. Montgomery was Montgomery, so that was about the same. Forget Cole Kmet, he yeah, lost calls there. Cincinnati's all about that mixing, isn't it? Look at that. You see, that gap right there tells me with Chase and Higgins and Hayden Hurst, it's just like they're not using that like they should. They're not scoring. And there's that gap tells me there's issues there, and and I don't pretend to know that. Look at Cleveland, man, are they overdoing with Chubb and Hunt? Come on, man, you want both of those guys, and don't forget the Ernest Johnson's hiding in the weeds. If something were to happen, look at what he would inherit. He's not going to do anything for you, but boy, is people going to unload their fab budget if something happens to Hunt or Chubb. Let me tell you, I'm just warning you now. If you got a deep bench, you want to store him because people will be going crazy all in. So you've been warned now. Cleveland again got some gaps here. That's not good. Dallas, yeah, their lowest use is running back, but the highest scoring. So it's not as good as I would like, but not good. Denver, look at this gap here. Sad. Look at Detroit. It's all about kind of like Cleveland, all about that. Other than St. Brown, nobody else is really scoring a lot. Reynolds has been coming on. And remember, this is 5 weeks of data, so it's very possible this is going to get better. So, you can't just, okay, 5 weeks and this is how it's going to be for the next five. It's just a snapshot, folks, of the snaps, right? Things can change. Anticipate changes. Okay. Not happy about Tanya. And look at this. It's telling you stay away. And wide receivers actually are not doing too bad in Green Bay compared to the running backs and the usage there. That's very interesting there, what I see. Houston and the tight ends are very, very intriguing. It's just they got a platoon of tight ends, and it's kind of hard to pick who and what and where, but there's gold to be found if you can crack that nut. Uh, Tight ends, running backs in Indianapolis, not bad actually, but the wide receivers are still not like I would like to be. Highly used, but the lowest scored. So Jacksonville, all about that RBs. Okay, tight end, not bad, but could be, look at they're almost on top of each other. A little bit of a gap here, and look at Kelsey. Look at this. Look at the weak sauce, and look at the running backs how they're overproducing. So Kansas City is overproducing tight end and running back. That's why they're doing so well. Their efficiency so sweet, and their gap here is not bad at all. They're on track to cover all three bases here. Comparatively, I know if you own Juju, you're not happy, but hey, can't get everything you want. Let's see what's going on with the Chargers here. Not happy with the tight end. Eckler, they're using him all day long, and his replacement is worth his ways. If that's Kelly, go for it. The Rams are sad on their running. Okay, sadness. They're not being used a lot, but they're not scoring either. Tight ends are good. Wide receivers, there's some issues with the Rams. Given the usage and Cooper Cup, that red bar should be higher than the tight ends. We should not see the tight ends higher than the wide receivers. That's sad for the scoring. So things are not right there at the Rams. I'm just telling y'all at a team level. Raiders, the running backs are overdoing. Jacobs is overdoing, and Waller's about right, and there's a gap there with the wide receivers. So that's the sadness there. Miami, sad on tight ends there, and looks like things are going pretty good for RBs and WR. So Miami's putting two of the three pieces together fairly well. But if Tua doesn't get back in, uh, this is going to change. But hopefully he can come back and this keeps going for them. They have lots of potential here. I like that. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook, and look how far down. That sucks. Look at New England. Look at their overproduction. Look at that. Look at the tight end. Lots of usage, but nothing. So there's sadness there. Maybe Hunter Henry with no Janu will bring that up. Wide receivers could be better as well. So they're kind of a one-trick pony. And Minnesota looks a lot like that, even with Cook. So that's what burns my biscuits is this should be much higher. New Orleans, Kamara, we're sad. Tight ends are the top. Oh man, that's not going to do New Orleans any favors. The Giants are extra sad on everything except Barkley. So another New England, like the Patriots, one trick pony. And there's the weakness and the sadness right there. The Jets, the tight end, sad. So I know Conklin's been having, activity, but hadn't been bringing it home scoring wise. Brees Hall and Carter have been overdoing. That's good. And the wide receivers, not bad. So the Jets have two of the three pieces. I like that. Philadelphia's running back, one trick pony. And Hurts with his running, which we're really not measuring here, is the only thing keeping Philadelphia going. Pittsburgh, just low scoring levels, and the wide receivers are so sad. Look at that. Weak sauce. I know everybody talking about Pickens. Weak sauce, folks. Seattle, Geno is we're overdoing the running backs. Those tight ends, he is playing those like a fiddle. And Disley and Fant, that is so nice. It's just with Lockett and Metcalf, and they're not doing. They should be up in here. So they're pretty good. Not a lot of gaps, but they could do so. I see so much. Maybe Geno is holding them down. And finally, we have San Francisco. Nice on the running backs. Poor Kittle, so sad. And the wide receivers, it's okay, but still sad. It should be up in here. Uh, Tampa Bay, old Brady's got the running backs going nice, and the wide receivers nice. The tight ends are sucky, but they've got two pieces. I like that. Tennessee, it's all about Henry. Everything else is sad. And Washington, it's all about the running, and everything else is kind of sad. And last night we saw that they couldn't get their run going. They fortunately lots of field goals, and the defense did what they needed to do, but it wasn't the offense that got them going at all. So anyway, that's what people are excited about the Robinson kid, the rookie, but he hadn't been able to capitalize. This is McKissick, Gibson, and him. Looks like a freeway. Let's cut everybody's uh, activities there so nobody wins. Okay. You can look. I looked and sorted by usage, and you can look to see what's being used where. I think that's some neat figures too. Looks like Green Bay scoring pretty good, but the efficiency is really sucky. So the best half is the Jets. Yep, you want everybody talking about don't Carter folks. As long as this is going, he's worth an ad and a trade. Okay, so Cleveland, Jacksonville, Washington, all you want potentially if you can figure out who wins that, then you gain a lot more. I don't know at this point is there opportunity here. Here's the tight ends. Uh, Basically Kansas City and Baltimore and Seattle and Atlanta are using Buffalo, but look who's scoring. Only these three. There they are. So lots of issues with New England there. And Minnesota's up at the top. Look at that. Look at the efficiency. Nice. Look at Buffalo. Nice. 129. That's the top efficiency for wide receivers. You wonder why Buffalo's kicking butt and taking names. Okay, so take a look at that. And finally, I go through each team at the player level, and you could then look to see what the issues are and go through here. Loving me some Zach Ertz, folks. I drafted him early and often, and I'm very pleased with what's going on. Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore's back, and that has pretty much Dortch's value has crashed, and unless something funky happens, he's fourth. And with Hopkins, it's time to get rid of him. If he has any value, you should go get it. Should have got it probably this week. That was when to unload it. And if you could have anticipated more coming back and cutting his value, then you might have got something week 3, but it's too late now. Okay, hope you enjoyed my 10-cent tour. Again, look at the rest of the data and have fun and good luck week 6. Woo woo. This is so much fun.